Review, or our press digest for this morning, where we take a look at all the headlines making the recent news in our local newspapers over the last 24 hours. I'm very delighted to be joined this morning in the studio by my guest, Dr. Mervat Madkour, Professor of Political Economy of the Middle East and Research and Development. A very good morning to you, Doctor.
Same to you, Inji.
Right, Doctor, let's start straight away with a look at Al-Ahram. The main banner reads, armored vehicles attack terrorist cells and hideouts in Sinai. 10 armed terrorists have been arrested. The joint security operation between the army and the police has continued in Sinai on Saturday. The operation targeted armed elements and weapon depots in North Sinai. The operation included activities in the towns of Sheikh Zuwaid, El Arish, as well as Rafah. Right, of course, this is some positive news, and we are seeing the army's efforts in the Sinai Peninsula in chasing terrorist groups and fundamentalists and trying to destroy all their hideouts. How do you see this step? And the army has promised to continue with their fight against terrorism.
It has to continue, Angie, because as I think we spoke of it last week, when we said that the topographic area of Egypt, or the demographic area of Egypt in Sinai, is not an easy place to to walk around and to capture terrorists. There are many hills, there are mountains like Jabal al-Halal, and all of these, of course, prohibit that these operations go as fast as we want. In addition, during the reign of ousted President Morsi, many terrorists have been, piled up from all areas like Afghanistan, Pakistan, like Al-Qaeda, like even Al-Nusra. I heard that they are operating in Egypt. So as a matter of fact, Egypt is full of terrorists in Sinai. And definitely they were estimated or guesstimated prior to the army's operations in Sinai to be around 3,000.
That's quite a hefty number.
No, listen.
It gets better. It's
getting worse. The problem is that with the allowing of those immigration of terrorists in Sinai, and President Morsi wanted to keep them as a safeguard. These were to act to protect his regime, okay? So I heard Sameh Saif al-Yazal on Orbit saying that the amount of those which they estimated to be between 3,000 and 5,000, now they could be 8 to 12,000. So we are not sure about the amount. In addition to the demographic area, as we said, the geographical areas in Sinai, it is not an easy operation. However, and you hear every day that many soldiers and officers lose their lives, and they are sabotaged all the time. Even, putting bombs in vehicles and running, like what happened to the headquarters of the intelligence, the military intelligence. So we are moving, as I believe, in stages. Nabil Naim said this is the second stage. The first was their attempt, like in Nahda, Rabaa, and then later Nahya and Kirdasa. They are trying to create spots of terrorists amidst of Cairo, okay,
and innocent citizens.
Exactly, and using people as a shield, against the police and against the army. And the curfew, it has been extended now, which shows that there is somehow a feeling that security and stability is gradually returning.
Restored, yes.
And this is very important, Angie. Why? Because economically, at least we will have the flow back of tourists. We have been declared an unsafe area. So we are not having tourists coming to Egypt anymore. And this is a very important source of income to Egypt, because
even domestically, it's important that the curfew has been extended. The shops, for traders,
for shops, as you say, of course, for the whole, you know, to live normally. We want to live normally.
And get the economy back,
Yes.
indeed. Still, with Al-Ahram's front page, Dr. Mervat, we read, before heading to New York, Foreign Minister Fahmy says full insistence on completing the roadmap. Foreign Minister Nabil Fahmy headed to the United States, where he's due to preside over the Egyptian delegation at the UN General Assembly meetings. On the sidelines of the Assembly meetings, he's due to meet with a number of his counterparts, topping the list of the permanent members of the UN Security Council, to discuss the latest regional and international developments, as well as issues of mutual concern. Now, we do have a report on the Foreign Minister's visit, and we'll be right back for a more in-depth analysis. Okay, so the report is not ready, but before we go to the report, Dr. Mervat, now we've seen the Foreign Minister taking a lot of trips, having a lot of press conferences. He's really been active in order to explain.
Not just this, Inge, mind you, because there has been many issues raised regarding the appointments which the ousted president had done. And many, like what happened in Stockholm, not Stockholm, it was a little town where there was a film festival in Sweden, and the brotherhoods have organized their stand, you know, in which they have attacked our actors and actresses and directors. So in fact, now he had appointed new ones, and new ones are being sent out, you know, to the various countries to which they have been appointed. And yesterday I heard in Gamal Anayat's Al Hawa on air, as is in English, that the ambassador of Egypt to Germany, he was talking from Berlin, and said that Thomas Cook, which is a very big company, and Commodore, which is also another big company in Germany, are now lifting off this
travel restrictions.
Travel restrictions to Egypt, and they will resume sending tourists.
Which is, of course, a positive sign.
And of course, Russia also promised.
And China, you know, as well.
No, I haven't heard of China.
China has promised.
Okay, then, and the first on the list to us are the Russians, followed by the Germans. Okay, so in fact, I believe that Dr. Nabil Fahmy, or Mr. Nabil Fahmy, is doing a marvelous job.
Indeed. And speaking about his visit, we do have that report now. Let's take a look, and we'll be back.
Foreign Minister Nabil Fahmy headed to the U.S., where he's due to preside over the Egyptian delegation at the UN General Assembly meetings. On the sidelines of the Assembly meetings, Fahmy is due to meet with a number of his counterparts. Topping the list are the permanent members of the UN Security Council, to discuss the latest regional and international developments, as well as issues of mutual concern. Fahmy will deliver Egypt's speech to the UN General Assembly. The top diplomat said the speech carries a number of messages to the international community to clarify the internal situation in Egypt and to assert the insistence of the Egyptians on building a democratic system, writing a constitution which fulfills their aspirations, and fighting all forms of terrorism. Meanwhile, President Barack Obama returns to the world stage at the UN next week. Obama faces major tests on both Iran and Syria, issues certain to shape his legacy as he heads to the annual United Nations General Assembly. Obama must quell questions over his personal leadership style, with the aura of authority conveyed by the killing of Osama bin Laden tarnished by Obama's public agonizing over a revolution in Egypt and Syrian chemical attacks. His response to Syria's infringement of his red line on chemical weapons, threats of military action, then a sudden decision to blink offered an opening for his critics at home and abroad.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Now, just before the report, Dr. Mervat, you were saying that the new cabinet, as seen by the foreign minister, is starting to take some action on the ground.
It's only, you know, very few ministers. And my question is to the Minister of Electricity, where is he? Okay?
The cuts are kind of back now.
Apparently, no, I heard today something very, very, very peculiar and quite dangerous, really. If this is true, I'm not sure. On Al-Sada al-Balad, there was Anwar al-Hawari and Nabil Omar who said we are not inventing the Constitution. And let aside the Constitution, but the general belief on part of the people, as well as commentators, whether it be on shows or in newspapers, that the present government is not doing well. Of course, some of them are doing brilliant work. Hassan Isa yesterday was in the university, and we've seen, of course, General Ibrahim and Lieutenant General Al-Sisi. They are doing a marvelous job. So is Hisham Zazua of the tourism. There are some of the cabinet members working